called Youth Embracing the World. I'm going to use a Korean term. It's Sepuma, so I hope you understand. I currently am a team coach for the Pathmakers, and Sepuma is an organization that I work for, and they are a facility for at-risk youth. Our goal is to rehabilitate, treat, and find opportunities so that they can become self-reliant. So it all starts with one child. So if I go back 10 years, if I may, I live in Bucheon, which is where Sepuma is located. The area that Sepuma is currently located is a difficult neighborhood, and Sepuma in itself was actually started with a very small church. And with the church was Reverend Myung-Sung Jin, and he was walking around the streets and he saw a lot of youths that were sleeping underneath trucks, sleeping outside. They had no place to stay, and some of them were also addicted to inhalants. So he brought in one child, and then what happened was another child came, and another, and another. So I say that it started with a choice and started with one child. And if Reverend Young actually made that choice, then perhaps the kids created what Sepuma is today. Today, these kids are 24 years old. They're first generation. They are staff members, they're mentors, they're coaches, and also some of them are entrepreneurs. But it took a very long time. It took a long time for us to get here. It took a lot of trials and tribulations. It was an experience that we had to learn from, but we also believe that what we designed and what we made from, honestly, some of the mistakes and some of the lessons learned can become a valuable contribution to what we plan to do for the youths in the future and in the present. We call this our learning journey. We also use this with the kids. Our learning journey composes of where we're from, how we've learned, and what we're doing now, and what we plan to do. We also apply this to our own organization and how we've developed. So, similarly, with the struggles that we've made, it wasn't an easy task, but we were able to learn, and as I had mentioned, we had talked about inhalant use. What Reverend Young and what Sepuma was able to do was institute policy change. We actually reduced the toluene, which is the chemical ingredient in glue, from about 45% to 0.1%. So through that action, we were able to institute policy changes and actually try to create an alternative. So we often say replacing addiction with something that's healthier. And what a lot of these kids lacked was self-motivation. They lacked identity. And what we instilled and replaced that was with passion. And we decided that we would try art and music therapy. Now, what I would like to mention is that a lot of these adaptations that we made in Sepuma was because the needs and the social services for at-risk youth could not be found. So when it comes to substance use or substance abuse and their treatments, Reverend Young, who's now in the Shokoku Pillow because of this very act, found out that there was no rehabilitation-based treatment. That what they would do is they would send them to a psychiatric hospital and sort of lacked proper care. Through about 10 years, and as we've raised the first, second, and third generations, we have and we've built core beliefs to our organization. First one is we don't use the word juvenile delinquents. We believe that they are individuals that need help, that they are ultimately severely impacted by the environment, that they've grown up in. A lot of these kids being out on the streets, we realize that their choice to run away is a lie. That in a lot of ways, they had no choice but to escape from the poverty, the abuse, and the neglect. Our solution to that was to constantly give positive reinforcement. Our peers, our staff are pivotal and crucial in this role. Second, trash. This is something that came directly out of a lot of our kids' mouths. So it's synergy, but they basically said, we're trash, we're worthless. Now this is a preconceived notion. A lot of it is because of how other people have treated them. But the message that we try to deliver is that you're not, you're valuable, and you can be a contribution to society, and we'll help you. What we focused on was, and what we realized is that they lacked social skills. They had low self-esteem. They were not able to control their angers. They resorted to high-risk behaviors, like any other at-risk youth. And we focused on the education paradigm right now in Korea. So I will talk about that a little bit later, but in order to prevent that, we decided that we wouldn't use a punitive approach, even if they came here into a facility, that we would not use a top-down approach, and that our education system that we would try to implement will be inclusive, will be experiential, that they will learn by doing. There's also this perception that these kids won't change. Recidivism is a problem. It happened to us as well, and it was a problem for us too. But our aspect is, it's not that they won't change, it's that they can't. A lot of these teenagers now have lived 14, 15 plus years, used to abandonment, defeat. They've lived without hope. They lacked any positive encouragement. So, our objective when they come here is to continuously meet them at their level. We understand that they can be erratic sometimes, they can say certain things, but our goal is when we hear something, it's not to disrespect them, it's to approach them at their level and talk to them man to man. One of the things that we tried to utilize and we tried to think was programs, certifications are very important in Korea, that the amount and the quantity can make a positive impact, can be a difference. However, we quickly realized that even though you could quantify programs that are completed and certifications, that the key aspect to Sepuma was the relationships and the community. So going a little bit into that is the positive support system that ensures their mental well-being, and in the end, it gives them a sense of safety. This is our very base. And we call this our second home. Now, I've talked about community, and to show community visually, I talked about the home, and with the school, we use different various methods of education for 3 different areas. The first is with the Incheon Law Center, we actually have a resiliency home, and in that floor, the kids they need to stay there for 6 months. After that, they can transition to a transitional home, and then after that, they have an opportunity to join paddle leaders. So these are the 3 areas that I've mentioned. And what I want to do and what I want to show is sort of where these kids stand in terms of identity as they transition through this process. So when they first come, it becomes me and myself. So these kids have built up a wall around them. They don't want to open up, they don't want to talk, they don't even want to get along. But then, through the process that we go through, that I will explain, they start to associate themselves and they see themselves with other people. As they transition over to our transitional home, they start opening up, they start speaking and using dialogues to communicate with each other, and then it becomes me with others. And then our goal is, as path makers, that they would focus on where I can contribute to society, and this is a direct result of what our first generation had gone through. Our first generation went through a very similar process. When they're 24 now, so when they became 24 and they were in their 20s, a lot of them had difficulty finding jobs, but then they also had this passion. They didn't want other children and other youths to walk the paths that they went through, so they thought of alternative ways of how we could empower youths. Now, I previously mentioned that they used music and art therapy when they were younger, and they decided that they wanted to implement the system and create their own business to help other youths who are out on the streets, who are still having trouble and could not afford music lessons, and they created a business and it's still running today. So, with the three systems, and I want to talk about the education system a little bit more, what do we do? In the restoration community, which is the 6-month facility, we do empathy-based learning. So out of the many programs that we do, it's primarily based on restorative justice. And restorative justice is basically a system that deals in conflict resolution. And it's about when an individual has a problem, he's able to analyze and think about how he feels. He's able to talk about his feelings and his emotions in a comfortable zone where it is recognized and acknowledged by others. And they also talk and respond in feedback. This constant dialogue, honestly, is not easy. It's not easy in the beginning. However, after a certain amount of time, the children and the youth become used to this. It becomes sort of the atmosphere and environment of how we discuss, how we make decisions, and as well with rules too. So the rules are not top down. We don't make the rules and say, you need to follow these rules. On the other hand, we work together, we talk about the rules, and we make the rules together, and then we agree on them. That's sort of the appropriate step that we go through in a facility environment. When they go to transition home, it's a very different area. The biggest thing about a transition home is choice. They choose to extend their stay with our facility. They do move to a different home, but that choice to stay longer with rules, with when you're able to, I'm done with my 6 months, I'm out of here. You can say that, but these children decide, I'm going to stay longer. I like what I'm seeing over at Pathmakers. I like what I'm seeing at people currently in the transition homes, and I want to be part of that process. So after an interview with us, if they are accepted, which so far all of them have, then they go into transition home. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I took too long. Okay, I'm gonna make this really quick. So because of this, what we also realized was that the alumni that were in Sepuma were having trouble. After internal investigation and study, we realized that a lot of children were having trouble finding work, that only about 20% were able to find some kind of work and they lacked job and employability skills. So because of that, we decided we were looking at the first generation, and we said, why don't we make an education curriculum that helps youth focus on startups? What everybody's here for and what everybody's interested here, the reality is our students don't have the education and they don't go to college, and to be honest, they can't really pass the test to go to college. So what can we do for them? So what we do is we focus on team building in the transition home. We do project-based learning. We do individual learning and team learning. We also focus on passion, needs, and solutions. We utilize design thinking. We do self-team management. We rotate through leaderships, and we focus on empathy and diversity. Sorry, it's the last slide. Okay. With Hanyang University, we've been working with Professor Shin over here, and he has been very helpful with us. And what we decided was, that's great. We want to build team building skills, and we're doing that right now. However, what about the traditional business disciplines? I can't teach that subject, so with 한양대, we have focused on the more precise goals of creating a business model and making the small projects that we do as a team more sustainable. So I believe together that we can focus on teampreneurship and change making. Thanks.